All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're cracking open what is honestly one of the absolute most important metrics in the entire banking world, the CASA ratio. Now, if you've ever, stared at a bank's earnings report and just felt totally lost in this massive sea of acronyms, don't worry. We've all been there. We're going to completely demystify this crucial metric today using a really fun dual lens framework. We're going to take it all the way from a simple neighborhood lemonade stand right up to the complexity of Wall Street analyst dashboards.
Okay, let's dive into this. Before we even touch the heavy financial jargon, I want you to imagine you're running a lemonade stand. Seriously. So Auntie keeps her spare coins in your little cash box and asks for absolutely nothing extra. She just wants them safe. And your little brother? Well, he lets you hold his pocket money, but for the price of one tiny chocolate. Now, this right here, this is actually the ultimate intuition for banking deposits. You're holding on to friendly money. And because they trust you, it costs you almost literally nothing to hold on to it.
So throughout this explainer, we're going to use this really powerful contrast. On one side, we have the like your five intuition. The lemonade stand, Auntie's coins, those incredibly friendly money givers. And on the other side, we have the precise version. This is the exact formal vocabulary you'd actually use in a professional research memo. See, by building that core intuition first, when we finally hit the precise banking terms, they're just going to click right into place in your mind.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. The Lemonade Stand Guide perfectly bridges that gap between simple, grounded intuition and absolute mathematical precision. You can honestly think of this as your ultimate cheat sheet to keep right beside your monitor when you're analyzing a bank's performance.
All right, let's pivot sharply to the precision side of things. What actually is the CASA ratio? Well, CASA stands for current account plus savings account. And the formula, actually, it's beautifully simple. It's just your current and savings deposits divided by your total deposits. Basically, it tells you the exact slice of a bank's total deposit pie that's just sitting there in these two specific types of accounts. Let's explicitly map her earlier metaphor directly onto these components just to really lock it in. So current accounts, those pay zero interest. That's Auntie's spare coins. She just wants her money kept safe, no strings attached whatsoever. Savings accounts, they pay very, very low interest. That's your little brother, right? Wanting just that one tiny chocolate in exchange for lending you his pocket money. The result of blending these two together, these friendly money givers provide literally the absolute cheapest funding a bank can possibly get its hands on. Let's move on and see how this builds into the broader financials, because this is the domino effect of CASA, and it's exactly why analysts pay such obsessive attention to it. Think of it like a chain reaction. Step 1, you have a high CASA ratio. Because that money is so incredibly cheap, it directly triggers step 2, a lower cost of funds. And well, when your raw materials cost less, that automatically pushes over the third domino, a wider net interest margin, or NIM. So CASA isn't just some random number. It is arguably a bank's single biggest lever for driving profitability. To really grasp that third domino, we need to quickly clarify what the bank is actually widening here. Let's think back to the lemonade stand for a second. The money you get to keep after buying the lemons and selling the drinks, that's your margin. In banking, the spread is that raw gap. It's the interest earned from loans minus the interest paid out on deposits. And NIM, or net interest margin, is just that net interest income expressed as a percentage of the bank's interest-earning assets. The cheaper your deposits, the wider this gap gets. It's really that simple. Now, you might be wondering, how do you actually know if a bank's CASA ratio is doing its job? Well, you can use these real-world benchmarks that analysts rely on every single day. If it's 42% or higher, that's considered strong. Between 33 and 42%, that's okay. And anything under 33% is definitely considered weak. You can literally take these numbers right now and actively evaluate any bank's earnings dashboard with complete confidence. But if you want to know what the truly elite players are doing, look at this specific number, 45%. This is the aspirational target. The absolute best private banks out there don't just settle for strong. No way. They are constantly pushing toward a 45% CASA ratio. They are relentlessly hunting for those cheap, friendly deposits because they know it maximizes their margins. Up until now, we've kind of isolated CASA, right? We've seen how powerful it is completely on its own. But a bank obviously isn't just one isolated metric, is it? It's an entire living ecosystem. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the whole banking machine to see exactly where CASA fits into the grander scheme of things. To see this whole machine in one breath, notice how the entire thing starts. A bank gathers money cheaply from friendly depositors. That's CASA. Gathering that cheap money is step 1. It is the foundational fuel that powers literally every single other operation the bank undertakes. So, the crucial point here is how this all connects. The ecosystem works kind of like this. First, you gather cheaply with CASA. That allows you to keep a really healthy margin, your NIM. Then you lend that money out, but you have to watch closely for wobbling loans, which are known as SMAs, and bad loans or NPAs. Because of those, you keep a coin jar ready. Those are your provisions. And underneath the whole shebang, you maintain a solid capital cushion just in case. But remember, CASA is that vital first domino. A high CASA ratio gives the bank the financial breathing room it desperately needs to manage all these other complex moving parts.
And that ultimately brings us to the final bottom line metric, return on assets, or ROA. This is net profit as a percentage of total assets. Why is this one so vital? Because it's the absolute cleanest measure of a bank's true operational skill. It completely strips out all the distortions of massive size and heavy leverage. If your whole machine, starting from that very first step of cheap costs of funding, is actually working efficiently, the proof is going to show up right here in a really strong ROA.
Ultimately, this leaves us with one massive question at the end of the year. After all that complex financial engineering, all the margins, the provisions, and the sheer cleverness of it all, did the bank actually bring coins home from the lemonade stand? Think about that the next time you look at a bank's dashboard. Because no matter how insanely complex the machine gets, it all starts with how cheaply they can gather those coins in the first place. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.